Alright, let's talk about the internet. It's a magical place, right? You can learn how to bake a sourdough loaf that looks like a sad rock, watch a cat play a tiny piano, and argue with a stranger about whether a hot dog is a sandwich. It's a beautiful mess. But lately, a weird trend has been popping up on platforms like YouTube and TikTok. We're seeing a massive rise in videos that are just straight up dunking on men. I'm not talking about lighthearted jokes or critiques of toxic masculinity. I mean full-on, sweeping generalizations that paint all men with the same very unflattering brush. It's become so common that scrolling through your feed can sometimes feel like you've stumbled into a global men are trash convention and you didn't even get a complimentary tote bag. Now hold on. Before anyone starts warming up their keyboards, let's be clear. Pointing out systemic issues and patriarchal problems is vital. That's not what this is about. This is about the strange blind spot these massive platforms seem to have. They've spent years developing complex policies to fight hate speech, and they'll tell you with a very serious face that they are committed to protecting everyone. But it seems like their everyone has an asterisk. The content promoting disdain for men often gets a pass, celebrated even, disguised as empowerment or just speaking a truth. So I did a little digging, for the show. I went to YouTube's official policy page, which is a document so long and dense it could probably be used to stop a door, or maybe even a bullet. And right there in black and white it says, YouTube prohibits content that promotes violence or hatred against individuals or groups based on certain attributes, and gender is right on that list. It's very clear. You can't post content that says a group is inferior or deserves to be hated because of their gender. It sounds great, right? It sounds like they've got it all figured out, like they've built this impenetrable fortress of digital justice. But here's where it gets tricky, like trying to assemble IKEA furniture using only the Swedish instructions. The policy is there, but the enforcement is, let's call it selective. You can easily find videos with titles like, "Why All Men Are Terrible," or compilations of women describing men as inherently manipulative, stupid, or broken. These videos aren't just surviving, they're thriving. They get millions of views, they're shared, they're celebrated, yet they seem to fly right under the radar of this very specific, very detailed hate speech policy. It's a paradox. The rules are on the books, but it feels like the referees are only watching one side of the field. Now flip the script. Imagine a popular male creator posting a video titled, "Why All Women Are Terrible." We all know what would happen. The internet would rightly explode, there would be think pieces, apologies, and that video would be taken down faster than you can say community guidelines violation. And it should be. That kind of content is hateful and harmful. The problem isn't that videos hating on women get taken down, the problem is that the reverse doesn't happen. Now, let's talk about the engine that drives all of this, the algorithm. The algorithm is like that one friend who is super enthusiastic but has no sense of nuance. It doesn't really care if what you're watching is good for you, it just cares that you're watching. Its only goal is to keep your eyeballs glued to the screen. So, when it sees that a video titled, "Men Are the Worst," gets a ton of angry comments, shares, and watch time, the algorithm doesn't think, "Oh, this is divisive." It thinks, "Jackpot, people love this stuff, let's show it to everyone." It's designed to promote whatever gets the strongest reaction. And unfortunately, hate and outrage get very strong reactions. The rise of short-form content like YouTube Shorts and TikTok has put this problem on steroids. These platforms are built for rapid-fire consumption, where you're swiping through dozens of videos in minutes. There's no time for context or deep thought. You get a 30-second clip of someone making a sweeping inflammatory statement about an entire gender, and before you can even process it, you're on to the next one. This format is perfect for spreading simplistic black and white ideas. It rewards hot takes over thoughtful analysis, and "all men are trash" is one of the hottest takes out there. The algorithm learns this and starts curating a personalized feed of resentment for you. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. A user might watch one or two of these videos out of curiosity or even because they disagree, but the algorithm doesn't know the difference. It just registers engagement, so it shows them more and more and more. Soon their entire feed is filled with content reinforcing this one negative idea, creating a distorted view of reality. It can make someone believe that this fringe, hateful opinion is actually a mainstream belief, which can be incredibly damaging for men who are targeted by it and can radicalize viewers who come to accept it as truth. The scariest part is that the platforms know this is happening. They designed the system. They know that outrage is profitable and that short-form content is particularly good at delivering it. But fixing the problem would mean fundamentally changing the very thing that makes them so successful and addictive. It would mean prioritizing user well-being over raw engagement metrics. And right now, it seems like that's a trade they're not willing to make. So the algorithm keeps churning, serving up division one 30-second video at a time, making the internet a more hostile place for everyone. So why does this double standard exist? Part of it is a well-intentioned but poorly executed attempt to correct for historical imbalances. Society has, for centuries, been structured in a way that disadvantages women. So, when platforms create their policies, they are often looking through that lens. They see criticism of men as speaking truth to power, while criticism of women is seen as reinforcing harmful, oppressive stereotypes. In theory, this makes sense. But in the messy, global, and anonymous world of the internet, this framework is too simple. It fails to recognize that hate is hate, regardless of who it's aimed at. The impact of this inconsistency is corrosive, and it hurts everyone, not just men. For men and boys, especially young ones, being constantly exposed to content that tells them they are inherently bad, broken, or predatory can be incredibly damaging to their self-worth and mental health. It fosters a sense of collective guilt and alienation. For women, it can be just as harmful. It can validate and entrench a worldview based on bitterness and blanket condemnation, hindering the ability to form healthy relationships. It also undermines the legitimate feminist cause by associating it with misandry, making it easier for critics to dismiss valid arguments against sexism. Ultimately, normalizing hate against any group creates a more toxic culture for all of us. It teaches us that it's okay to dehumanize people we disagree with and to paint entire populations with a single, ugly brush. This is the opposite of progress. Progress is about seeing people as individuals, about fostering empathy and understanding, not about swapping one form of prejudice for another. Allowing this double standard to persist sends a message that some forms of bigotry are acceptable, which weakens the moral foundation of the fight against all forms of hate. It tells us that justice isn't blind, it's just looking the other way. So, what's the solution? For starters, platforms like YouTube need to apply their own rules fairly and consistently. That's it, that's the tweet. The policy against gender-based hate speech should protect everyone, or it protects no one. This requires better training for content moderators and refining algorithms to demote, rather than amplify, sensationalist and hateful content, regardless of the target. It's not about silencing women or stopping critiques of patriarchal structures, it's about drawing a clear line between valid criticism and outright hate. Creating a safer, more equitable internet is a complex challenge, but the first step is simple. The rules have to be the same for everybody.